Okay, it is 6:06 on February 24th, and I would call Planning Commission to order. And then can please have the roll call.
Commissioner Rhodes? Here. Commissioner Fott? Here. Commissioner Tev? Here. Commissioner Vieira Brandel?
Here.
Commissioner Levine?
Here.
Commissioner Frybeck?
Here. I believe we have quorum. Okay, agenda item number 3. Do we have any public? Nope, no public comment. Consent calendar. I do believe the approver of the minutes is on an excused absence today, so I don't know if somebody wants to volunteer to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. The one that was in the meeting.
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Levin and a second from Commissioner Frybeck. Any comment on approval of the minutes for the January 27th meeting? Okay, seeing none, I would move to vote for approval of the minutes.
Commissioner Rhodes? Aye. Commissioner Fott?
Aye.
Commissioner Tev?
Aye.
Commissioner Vieira Brandel?
Abstain.
Commissioner Levin? Commissioner Frybeck?
Aye.
Motion passes. Minutes are approved. I don't believe there are any resolutions or action items. We have no public hearing. Any special orders of business? Nope. Okay. Information reports, which is, I think, kind of the main thing for this evening. I don't know who wants to start the presentation, but
I'll kick it off.
okay.
Good evening. My name is Eunice Kim. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager for the City of Salem, and I'm here tonight just to give a little bit of context and background before passing it over to our Fire Marshal to give more discussion on this. So I want to give a little background about our housing need and kind of the work we've been doing and where this discussion on the single-stair building kind of came from. We've been working on housing at the City of Salem for well over a decade. We've been identifying our housing needs, kind of our deficiencies, trying to meet those deficiencies, whether it's land or other resources. But we know we continue to need more housing, more affordable housing, different types of housing, housing in different locations, middle housing, single family housing, multifamily housing, you name it, right? We have a lot of needs related to housing, and we're continuing to chip away at that when we look at different financial incentives, regulatory changes, how we buy and sell land, things like that. The single stair is something that we've been looking at since last year as another option. We did complete our first housing production strategy last year. It was adopted by the city in May and approved by the state in October. And that really lays out a lot of the different actions related to housing that we intend to take as a city over the next 6 years. And so kind of as this housing production strategy was being developed, the state has been working on this single stair building issue. It stems back to 2023 when the legislature passed a bill, House Bill 3395, that required building codes to essentially consider allowing single stair buildings. The state did in fact pass a change to building codes, Appendix Q as it's known. Last year it became effective in October of 2025. That actually allows cities to opt in to allowing single stair buildings. It does not require cities to. That adoption has to be through a local ordinance, so it would go to city council, but also the fire service or the fire department would have to give approval. So again, we, the three of us and the chief have been talking about this and others, Lisa, since last year. And so we wanted to provide a little bit of context and perspective from the city. And so I was going to pass it off to Sean. Oh, do you want to
For the record, I'm Al Rossi, the building official. I'll pass the mic off to Sean.
And Sean Mansfield, Salem Fire Marshal. I apologize. The chief had intentions of being here. I'm not sure what happened with his schedule. I know we had a last second personal related, not related. He happens to show up halfway through or something like that. We'll let him take over because he does a much better job presenting than I do. Apologize. I am a person of very few words. Obviously, we're here, go ahead. You guys are all smart. Do you want me to read the slides off to you guys? Or are you okay if I just kind of pause for a little bit and let you guys? Probably appreciate that more than me. A lot of references to the Seattle.
Just as a general since we're approaching this presentation, I'd be maybe just your thoughts about it, and then we
Okay.
follow up later with the full presentation. We're here, and largely we're interested in just knowing what about it, and are you on board?
I'll give a brief summary of the slides as we go through, actually. Good if we pause real quick?
Oh, yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Apologies, an emergent issue, another calendar issue there. Here to save the day.
Got 2 slides into it, so.
Well, thank you for your patience. No, first time for everything, yeah. So. Well, good evening. My name is Dave Gerboth, and I have the honor of serving as the fire chief for the city of Salem. So apologize for my tardiness, had a emergent issue and a calendar issue, so I ran here. Give me 1 second. Okay, we got it. Good, thanks. Well, I do appreciate the discussion and having us here tonight. I am certainly keenly aware of why we're even having this discussion of affordability and the need for housing stock in our community. And so I live downtown. I understand that. I understand what we need here. And so I also took an oath for public safety and to make sure they're mitigating risk. And so I'm certainly open to having the conversation and but would like to show you my perspective and where I'm coming from on this. So this is just started my 34th year in the fire service and have certainly dealt with many different structures and many different fires. And so this issue is certainly not only happening in Salem, it's happening around the country. And before I got here, I worked for another fire department for the majority of my career in which we had this discussion. So I'm familiar and have had some of the discussion. So one of the things it starts with is advocacy for the single stairwell. And so a couple of the comments that I've gotten generally for advocacy starts with the European model, that this has been very successful in Europe. We should just model that. The fact is, it's very different building construction. I think you all understand that. Non-combustible materials, compartmentalization, and most are built with fire escapes, which is not in these, is not going to happen within any of the projects that are being promoted. So I think looking at the European model is giving us a false sense of security on exactly how these work. Seattle is the other area that has been used as an example throughout the nation, and that Seattle has had a successful single-stair program for now a couple decades, and there has been no measurable differences in outcomes because of having a single-stair apartment. And the fact is that within Seattle, they do not keep data. And so they don't actually track any of the buildings, whether it's single stair or not. And so when I hear that there's data that goes one way or the other, the fact is it's not really an honest statement because the data doesn't exist. And so even Seattle has expressed concerns with other organizations and jurisdictions advocating for single stair. When this issue went to the state of Washington, the city building department in Seattle, the Seattle Fire Department spoke against it, and they spoke against not having it codified. And the reason being that Seattle is very unique. They have an incredibly well-funded municipal fire department. They have outstanding response times. They have a great complement of aerial ladders, and they can take care of fires in a much better way than we can. One of the issues is fire protection systems that is part of this, and that as a mitigating factor. I will tell you, there's nothing better, I think, than fire protection systems. It provides a level of safety that is superior to most anything out there. Right before I came to Salem, I responded to this fire, actually. This is a high-rise building that was less than a year old. And when we showed up, we had a well-involved apartment fire, free-burning, well-involved apartment fire with all the latest fire protection systems that exist. Within the single stairwell, one of the areas of why we're proposing it is affordability, and absolutely understand that. That would also land to some of our vulnerable communities. This particular incident is a transitional housing high-rise, and we had somebody with mental illness that disabled the fire protection system and decided to light the apartment on fire. So although I do absolutely support fire protection systems, it's not a foolproof. One of the things with fire protection systems is they need to be inspected and they need to be make sure that they're maintained. Within our community risk reduction, we have an amazing group of individuals, understaffed, but great. We're doing about 1,000 inspections a year. We're trying to ramp up to about 4,000 this year. We should be doing about 7,500. And so we're understaffed and we're not doing the inspections that we should be doing. One of the things we're not talking about is new dangers and how these are even overcoming fire protection systems. Can you play that? And I might have to go past one little commercial here. Yep.
You're referring to fire protection systems, and for those of us not in the biz.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's
I thought planning
sprinkler,
commission, everybody.
right?
So I'm talking about sprinkler systems. I apologize. I took it for granted. Can you, let me see if I can. Can you just, oh, there you go. Can you run it back or, yeah, do it again? Thanks, sorry. So this is something we're seeing in our community is the prevalence and proliferation of lithium-ion batteries. This is something that's happened all over the country. Being at the bottom of a single stairwell when that happens is not going to provide any exit or safety. Can we move to the next, please? That's gone. So this comment, I want to go back to at the beginning, from Seattle Fire Department about a well-funded municipal career fire department with outstanding response times, a great complement of aerial ladders distributed throughout the city where they can quickly put out fires. Whether you look at Seattle, Portland, New York, not only are they resource rich, they meet NFPA standards with staffing. They have 4 or 5 on a company. We have 3. We do not meet NFPA standards. We are not resource rich. We do not have mutual aid to pull from. In our case, since 2011, we had about 16,700 calls. 2025, we ended with over 36,000 calls. A 118% increase during that time. Our on-duty staffing has actually decreased 4.6%. We are not in the same position as these large metropolitan areas that have the firefighting resources that can adapt and deal with these issues. We have not kept up with even the growth that we've had so far. We talked about great response times in Seattle. As our call load has increased, our response times without increased staffing has gone down tremendously. And this was October 3rd, 2025 in West Salem. Singer Stillwell apartment, engine 5 in West Salem was first to arrive, and we had multiple people jumping out of the second-story window. So this is not just potential. This is something that's actually happening in our community. I will close with this. I am absolutely willing to work together. I'm definitely a collaborator. I want to collaborate. Maybe there's some things that we can work on. Certainly, I know that that in the code, we can't make modifications within construction, but maybe there's something else. But as a public safety professional and as a risk manager, it's hard for me to take on more risk to a city and an organization that is already operationally saturated and not keeping up with the demand currently. So those are my concerns. I'm happy to have a discussion. I think I've caught my breath now from running over here. I apologize for that again. But certainly would like to entertain any comments or questions you have.
My first question, would you like a glass of water?
No, I'm good now, thanks.
Okay.
I got it.
So I had the staff attach a study from the state of Minnesota. They got commissioned on single stair, and they ran through a few different scenarios, and they did some fire modeling and stuff. Have you seen this
I did.
before?
Yep, I've read that. I've read the study with the multifamily dwelling past 2000. It's kind of an interesting study. They compared single-family dwellings with multifamily dwellings older than 2000.
Mhm.
It's not an apples-to-apples comparison. It's not even single-family dwellings past 2000. It's legacy single-family dwellings to multifamily dwellings past 2000. I'd like to see a comparison of single-family dwellings before 2000 and single-family dwellings after 2000. I think that would be an accurate comparison. I think you'd probably see the same benefits that exist.
So they do show that on, let's see here, page 23 of the packet on table 4, I guess. That's the age of residence. Let's see here if there's a different one. Oh, this one's better. So this is page 16. This chart shows the fire risk for various ages of page numbers at the
Okay.
bottom right there. on page 16 of that, the page numbers on the bottom right.
So if I'm reading this correctly, this is the percentage of fire deaths per construction type and economic group. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the chart on page 16 shows the deaths per million residents for multifamily buildings in blue.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, I mean, there's both decreases in fire deaths for newer construction. I think that's consistent with the systems that we've put in place.
And I was just curious what your thoughts were on that single stair study that the state of Minnesota put together.
Yeah, I think the reason that we put a review of the fire official into the statute is the fact that we're supposed to review the staffing and capabilities of the local fire department.
Yeah.
As I've stated, we're already at capacity.
Okay.
Adding this type of construction, again, at just without modifications or having a discussion would be incredibly difficult to accept.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the fire department should be part of this. So, just, given I guess on this chart, perhaps it's showing a higher death rate for single family as opposed to multifamily. To me, the biggest allure to a single stair structure or these smaller multifamily is the attractiveness to like families and other people who wouldn't otherwise be living in multifamily buildings. Say perhaps if you've got 16 families decide to living in a single stair structure as opposed to living in just a single family home. I'm sure there's some sort of safety trade-off there. If you've got a bunch of single family homes, perhaps the amount of tax revenue that we collect, is that paying the same amount per capita for fire services, and the homes are more spread out? Could that have an impact on response times and other factors? Because I see it as we're not building single stair. I say we're building single stair, or we're gonna see that housing need filled by a different housing type.
Another multifamily apartment.
Be a large apartment building, but like we've got, I think it's like 30% of our lots in the city that are zoned for multifamily are less than 6,000 square feet, which are actually smaller than what we allow right now for multifamily structures to be built on. And so either that lot's going to see fourplex or smaller, which is what we currently allow on single family lots, or the existing single family house, which is likely not from this millennia, it's probably 1950s or older, is going to remain in place, or the lot's going to go vacant, or some developer's going to come on and buy up 3 lots, combine them, and they're going to build a large single or multifamily structure with space on the side. And that last option I don't see happening a whole lot because it's expensive to buy multiple lots, and I don't think developers are really going to buy into the idea to demolish 3 homes just to build one structure in the middle. So to
Yeah, I
me,
think-
yeah,
Yeah, well, one of the differences between a single family dwelling and a multifamily dwelling is that we have no inspection authority over single family dwellings. So although we're doing 1,000 inspections a year, there is requirements, right? And so we do send out self-inspections. People are doing some of those. They know that there are requirements. We're not keeping up with it, but we're getting out there. We're hitting different buildings every year, but there are inspection requirements and there are fire code requirements for multifamily and commercial dwellings that do not exist with single families. And so if we were doing fire inspections and had those requirements in single families, I'm sure that there would be a difference in that as well.
so no, we're not allowed to change the building requirements for Appendix Q, but would there be a possibility to, I know like the city has a city services fee, that, I think it's on like the water bill or something, and it's different for multifamily and single family. And I think they're looking at changing that fee structure right now. Could the city assess a special fee for single stair to make up for that difference somehow?
If you're asking me legally if they can do that, I guess I would ask the legal counsel if they could do that. There are operations fees, there's other things to be raised. I can tell you there's great resistance right now. And if any of you, I think we all live in Oregon, is pretty tax averse. I'm not seeing that that's probably going to be moving forward anytime soon. You know, if it did, and as a result of that, we increased our staffing levels to national standards, I'd absolutely be willing to have a deeper conversation.
Okay. And then I just have questions. So I attached a screenshot of a development that got approved on State Street. I suppose the very front. I think it's that Co's project on, it's across the street from my favorite convenience store. But yeah, State and 14th. So on each side of this structure, you have, you know, it's a, I think, I can't see how many units are per floor, but there's a significant amount of units on each floor. I think like 50 or, yeah, I think 50. But there's 4 units that are each on a dead end corridor, which is the same amount that we would, you know, maximum amount that would be required, or allowed on a single story of a single stair structure. What extra safety benefit would you say that the, you know, second stairwell would provide to those 4 units that are on this one side of the building?
I'm not familiar with that particular structure. I'm sure was it built recently?
Just got permits approved.
So just got permits approved? I'm not familiar with it. I think you have to look at, other than just fire, we're also looking at, we're in a seismically active area. We have physical threats, and if we only have one escape route, I think there's concerns there as well.
Okay, but just, you know, from a fire safety perspective, this structure has significantly more units, and like if you say, I don't know if you could zoom in.
What's on, I'm not sure what's on either side as well.
Sorry, it's on A1.11.
Is there open access on each end?
No, so you can. Yeah, so there, I don't know what open access means.
I mean, could we put a fire truck in there
Oh,
on the sides?
yeah, there's an alley behind the building.
Okay, yeah.
But that one, each corridor dead ends into 4 units, and then just in front of those 4 units is a stairwell. I'm looking at this and I imagine that you could just, you know, cut that building right there, and then you'd have that single stair structure that would meet standard. But in order to say you get rid of every other unit in the structure aside from those 4, and then you add a 265-foot hallway to the second staircase, that would meet an FPA standard, correct? Like if you got rid of every other unit other than those 4 at the end. Okay.
That's. Have, of course, the dead end corridor feature. Maximum travel distances to get. Blocking off a corridor. And, I think that it, the necessity. And I know fire, a lot of it's their responder, or they have the keys out. part, and I think of X, and so if we I sat in on the code committees for this.
Mhm.
We had an opportunity. As I sit on the national codes as well, I think that in or even single exit get codified at that point, that gives us the opportunity to modify the requirements of the code. Chapter 1, having to have provide access maybe on 2 access points of the building. Fire access from the top of a stair. There's a lot of things that we could do that would improve our capacity to be able to access. Right now, I think about a stair more than fire. If the fire's in the stair, we're done. If you've got a seismic event, disables 1 exit. How do we get people out? Currently with buildings, now so there's a lot of pieces in there. I think to the chief's point, I think that modifications and some viable option. I think from department's point, we try really hard to look at all kinds of ways to department to be able to figure out ways to make a lot of different building designs and products work. Back to housing now. Right there with this.
Okay.
I think it's down the road, but I think it's a little premature that patients have not been able to make. Occupants getting out of the building and fire going up into the building. So I think we're close, but I just don't think that there's.
Okay, yeah, I think. I appreciate-
One-sided access on firefighter opening is incredibly difficult as well.
Yeah,
Clarify that the Co's buildings had land use approval and it's in for building permits, but it's in pre-screen. So I don't think the fire department has seen the building permits yet. That's probably why Sean or his staff wouldn't be able to speak to it yet. So it's still in pre-screen. Probably be coming your way soon.
Go ahead, Commissioner Levine.
This is a open question for either Mr. Rothy or Chief. I know that residential fire sprinklers are considered incredibly beneficial as far as concept and their effect. I've gone through and retrofitted several locations with residential level installations, and compared to the cost of a commercial or an industrial fit up, they were cheap. I mean, really reasonable. Anyway, so the question that I have is, what level are residential fire sprinkler installations required in multifamily? Is it at 3 units or 4 units or 6 units? For new construction?
so I'll address that. Out of the 1 and 2 family code, there are options for sprinkler systems, townhome construction, and fire separation walls, are rated walls when 2-hour rated when they're not sprinkled. If we fire sprinkle them with a 13 residential sprinkler system, we call it in the language in our industry is 13 system. And in that it's affordable, to your point, because doesn't need a dedicated water supply. And it also doesn't cover a lot of concealed space and some
Right.
don't be necessary. So it lowers construction cost in the sense that power separation wall between units. On average, according to one builder I spoke with, $10,000 per unit. So it's a substantial savings to be able to construct a 1-hour wall versus a 2-hour, and sprinklers do save. When you get into multifamily, style of structure being apartments, R2 multifamily have 1-hour separations, and so they're just designed as rather than a fire wall or a fire barrier, they're fire partition. And so we'll do the floor ceiling assemblies, we do the wall. Constructed as 1 hour, and then we do have a dedicated water supply to those buildings with a riser for the fire attachment and some other pieces. Those are still 1-hour separation, and they're farm systems and everything else are NFPA 13R system. Now, if we increase to a full NFPA 13 system, like you see in a commercial, now you're getting concealed spaces, other places that are wherever it could happen, right? Other additional components to the system. Construction, fire separation stuff down to 30 minutes, which all effects is really just your drywall and the standard stuff. A lot of money there, but again, sprinklers are expensive. So it's a little bit different construction design, whether constructed out of the residential 1 and 2 family code, which can include homes when you figure we're built, or the commercial side where we're getting into back out like we have in some of these.
Okay.
And that's your question.
Moving forward into the concept of single stair access and looking at potential adjustments that are going to be necessary in that conversation, access stairs that are going to be 4, 5, 6 feet and not 36 inches, and what different levels of fire sprinkler systems appropriate to the, if those kinds of adjustments can be processed into the conversation, do you see the possibility of a future of single stair small complex being viable or allowed?
I'll let the chief speak to that.
I see where this going is being codified to the point of no longer being optional. And however, it'll give us the ability to make local adjustments such as you're speaking of, that I'm sure we can collaborate and come to an amenable decision on how we can build something in our community and still make it safe and
The question has to do with your perspective of it, a potential of it being viable. If it can't be safe, it's not going to work.
Whether it reaches the same level of safety as two exits, it's never going to get there. However, is it viable in the future? I think with the proper, occupant load restrictions and on dwelling units, rooftop access, fire apparatus that can meet that access with the people. support that. And then certainly the more robust, fire sprinkler systems, I think even protect, electronic devices that we have, you know, whether it's, departments to be able to have it as much of a to the years themselves, all those pieces.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
I don't have maybe a question specifically, but I did want to thank you for coming here and talking us through this. I am a practicing architect and I focus mostly on commercial work. And I think, I think this idea of a single stair building is interesting, and certainly works well in very dense urban environments where they have a lot of urban infill opportunities and they're trying to bring housing. At the same time, we're working with fire and life safety, and those are critical to the success of a building and, of course, the welfare of the people living there. So I would be dubious that we would see an influx of these buildings being built simply because the level of construction and the cost of that construction, I don't know how that would actually be less expensive than simply adding the second stair. Having an outdoor stair or something as your second egress is a very reasonable method for achieving that. And I don't know how many, maybe Eunice could speak to this, how many sites we have in Salem where this would be seen as the best, highest and best option for that location. Yeah, I'm just curious. It's a bit challenging because there's a lot of design factors that would have to be taken into consideration. I know certainly for me to be comfortable with this, and I would hope that we can ensure that it's not, not to be cynical, but used as a tactic to just get more people onto project sites for less money. Yeah, so, I just appreciate you illuminating the many challenges with this type of construction. And, and Salem is not a very dense city. So I'm just curious how much of an impact it would make for the risk that we would be taking on.
You want to talk about the sites first?
Sure. Yeah, it's a little bit of an open, I know it wasn't really a well-framed question, but it's just how I was thinking about when you were talking through it, redundancy in safety systems is really important, and that's how we can ensure the safety of the people living there. So, yeah, can we reconcile the need versus the opportunity, and is that a value-based decision, and does it meet the risk factors?
Whatever multicolor we're seeing. We are trying to promote more infill development along our corridors closer in, to the. Are seeing infill. Apartments in our mixed use zones. So this could be an opportunity for smaller, perhaps.
Well, we're getting like middle housing, and so I think on the middle housing lots, like they would be big enough for this. Just when middle housing first became a thing, we started seeing builders that of course, had never done it before because they weren't allowed to, and they're exploring, and the plans are getting better, and the design of the site's getting better. So it would probably be the same thing that the smaller builders, say, oh, this is something I could do, and have to work through some designs, and then it might, end up being something they specialize in because they can't do it right now. Who knows who would fill that vacuum? The people that are doing those large apartment complexes, this is not going to be for them. That's just not their economic model. So
Yeah, pro forma, on the number of units, then I would be just interested to know, I guess, what in some of these larger cities, they are very, as you said, well-resourced cities. And that means that the projects going up are also a much higher per square foot cost than I think what we typically see Salem area.
I would agree.
Just perspective, yeah. Oh. Yeah. Maybe. Really more for Lisa as a, you know, per se that youth. As a theoretical, is there something? We just want to make sure, I think, that our fire resistive and response ability would be process, but it might be worth kind of working through that with cities who are adopting this to find out from them what extra requirements are you including to ensure that are safe? You know, is it just increasing the fire resistive quality of the construction type, and you know, we're not allowing you know, wood construction, for example, rising with all of the recent timber changes.
Yeah, but I don't, we wouldn't do a local zoning code amendment for this, so if it was to be it would be a state requirement in the building code and the fire code, I think, yeah, so I think they would be at the forefront of deciding what that is and not planners, luckily, so, yeah.
But as an infill, you know, as an infill potential, then that becomes a planning question around. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Or if there's any
Back
site
road density
design
for-
things that we would want to bolster with the fire code,
Because we
yeah.
already allow 3-story walk-ups and.
Well, when you look at some of these that are put, where they back up against other units, there's no access from the rear. They have, they are infill projects that have, density on each side, and the only access is from the front. That provides additional challenges for.
I know in California, I've done housing projects that ended up having essentially every has essentially a fire escape from it, you know, and that does not seem like something that would become a cost savings. So where's that break point where it's?
An additional thought. So I guess like kind of brings the question. So we've got a lot of multifamily zoning in the inner part of town, like between here and like 14th Street is either some kind of mixed use or multifamily or whichever. And so what is the future for our smaller multifamily lots? Because we've got like those lots that are less than 6,000 square feet, and you can only really build a quadplex on those. And so it's essentially the same as a single family lot right now. And if you built a 3-story walk-up on that, say, former single family lot, you would have to buy 3 lots and demolish all 3 single family homes, because the current density limit on that piece of property only allows for a quadplex on a 6,000 square foot lot. And so do we, like, you know, what's like, what is the vision for our inner city multifamily? Is it we're gonna do all quadplexes and then it's the same as single family? Or is it all 2-stair walk-ups that are, you know, 6 to 8 stories tall, and, you know, they're, you know, most of the apartments are gonna be 1 bedrooms and studios? Or are we gonna, you know, find some way to, you know, get 2 stairs and livable apartments and you know, in some format that's feasible for the developers, because I guess that's my goal, is that we have inner city mix or multifamily zones that are walkable and that people can live in with their families and people can, you know, have a future in the more urban part of Salem when they're, you know, living their lives. But I don't, you know, want to cause any undue harm to anybody that's, you know, living in those units. So I guess it's just tough because I don't want all those places in Salem that are currently zoned for, you know, multifamily to just stay that way forever. And I feel like, you know, eventually something's going to change. Something's going to get built on all those lots. And I just want to make sure that whatever does happen is in the best interest of the community. So.
I was gonna say, well, a lot of those neighborhoods, so were rezoned from single family to multifamily in like the 60s and the 70s, because the thought was like everybody's moving out to the outer, you know, rings. That's where all the, you know, people with money and single family is going to be, and these areas are going to be redeveloped and they're all going to be, you know, high-rise apartments. And of course, we didn't see that. During our Salem, we looked at some of those neighborhoods. We looked at downzoning them to single family because they're mostly single family. That's how they're built. The owners generally didn't want that. There are small scale apartments, you know, mixed into those neighborhoods, and middle housing was happening at the same time. So you could basically do the same thing in both zones. So we didn't do a wholesale like rezoning of those neighborhoods from multifamily to single family. I think the only harm of keeping them multifamily is someone could buy multiple lots, tear down the houses and do some large, you know, apartment complex, which could be good or bad, but like it, you know, would change kind of the fabric of the neighborhood. But otherwise they allow, you know, small scale infill in a walkable neighborhood. So we were trying to, I guess, thread the needle with that. What were you going to say, Eunice?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, like where we are right now, I guess, you know, I look at some of those inner part of towns and, you know, neighborhood associations will tell me, well, we don't want 3-story walk-ups right next to my single family home because, you know, the spacing requirements are huge and they don't, in my opinion, they don't look great. And I, you know, I agree with them. I don't think they personally fit within, you know, an existing older neighborhood, and finding a solution where we can add housing to our existing neighborhoods where we have the transit network, where we have the bike lanes, and where we've got existing sidewalks, and where we've got all these facilities where we don't have to add to our maintenance burden. How do we really meet our housing targets in those areas that we already have paid for all this infrastructure? And you know, doing it all the way out to Cordon Road, then we're not going to be able to do that forever. And so we're going to have to figure out how to get more housing closer in sometime. So single stair is just one way to do it. So.
So, you know, if we're looking comprehensively at our housing, right? So it's also like what financial incentives are needed.
And I think we all kind of covered this, but just to make sure that I understand, because I feel like I'm probably the least knowledgeable person here on this. The Appendix Q is kind of a take it or leave it single page document. The additional discussion about the International Building Code bringing in some sort of general concept of single stair buildings would provide a lot of flexibility so that we can personalize it essentially to have a version for Salem that works for Salem, for our resources, for our general layout of buildings and sites and everything, so that there would be a flexibility to where you could be comfortable with maybe a single story concept that works for what we have. And Appendix Q just doesn't really accommodate those changes. Is that an accurate statement? Mostly?
I think with a broad, that covers it, yes.
Yeah, broad brushstroke. Yeah, yeah.
I think so the difference is adopting Appendix Q, and I think Now it's part of the national code. Now we've got. So that we, you know. Also, as it gets developed in those steps, a lot of times the code will allow exceptions for certain requirements to be able to do that extra piece that you cannot do with the pending.
Okay.
So the flexibility is not there.
Sure. And then I guess I would also assume, and I don't know this, if this is something that many jurisdictions are talking about, because we all have similar issues with not having enough housing, the feedback from hundreds or thousands of fire departments is going into the sort of general model code that would be developed. And so we would be getting input and improvements from other jurisdictions as well via the sort of general version that would come out in 2027 or whatever. And then that would also create probably a better sort of product of code
Sure, that we've
for the
got,
developed ideas.
National fire representatives, building officials from all. Voting members for the code hearings, having participated in them front to back. It's a long process for the code cycle that's being developed the next are at public hearings now. And then you're voting the building code option in, and we're gonna see it happen. The final irons get the wrinkles out of the clothes. Code hearings, if anything else, they're educational. The person behind the concept, right? They're trying to accomplish, and obvious people who come in, they're trying to sell the product to be able to have that. We pick up on that pretty fast. And then we have the people who don't like to see change because across all codes that are being produced. So why change building code? Now it's not gonna line with the fire code. So there's those conflicts. But then there's, when you sift through all that, the lion's share is about people sitting down, trying to figure out a way to make it work in a better, safer way, or find something, a point of failure that got missed over the years. A lot of code stuff is just like 21 national and then 25 for Oregon. The cleanup in a lot of things were it's getting more robust. We're changing. Energy, that's taken a big one too.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Any other? It's okay. Well, thank you all for your time in the presentation. Certainly been illuminating for me on this topic. So any other comments? Anything?
Thanks for
Okay.
having us. Look forward to future collaboration. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you do for our community. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Subcommittee reports. Anyone? No? Okay, I think the subcommittee report from the Wetlands Committee is that we will not be meeting tonight. Planning Administrator's report.
No, we have, our next meeting is March 10th. We have Juliana Douglas, our Climate Action Plan Manager, coming to present on the Climate Action Plan and the Municipal Energy Master Plan update. That's a mouthful. And then I guess we should maybe briefly talk about when we want to reschedule the wetlands. Do we want to have it that night? Do you want to have it,
I think that would be my,
want to poll the the whole subcommittee since only two of you are here? And then let everybody know? I don't know what you want to do.
I think I would, yeah, let's just punt it to the 10th and we can always cancel it again.
It's kind
Okay.
of my vote as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So just continue the same item on to that date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
I think that's the only meeting we have scheduled, right, with agenda items? Yeah. And to have some, I think we're gonna have some cases coming up. It's been a while, but we are gonna have some cases coming up. I guess the only other update is we have been working on permit process improvement. I always say it backwards. For the last few years, and we had a forum on Monday with folks in the development community to discuss what we've been working on, and then get their ideas and then ideas that we have, and then ask them to kind of prioritize, you know, if we can only do 3 of these things, what are those things? So we're getting, we're gonna send out a survey to those folks that were there and that weren't able to come. I think we had about 50 people on the invite. A lot of the same people that came when Eunice had a few forums on the housing code amendment that we're working on. And we're gonna report to the council on all the things we're doing for process improvement on the first April meeting, city council. So I'll send a reminder if you want to see it, the presentation, read the staff report and the discussion, if that's of interest to you all.
Okay.
Usually Commissioner Slater has all kinds of questions for me, and I feel like there are always questions that really should be for Eunice, and she's here. Questions for Eunice? Do you have any updates on projects that I should have mentioned? You say that into the microphone. We just got a complaint about you guys not using the mic. No, about them.
We will be giving a quick update on all of the housing production strategy actions, where they are, what action has been taken last year, when that process improvement staff report goes to council in April.
When is the conversation with developers?
We had it yesterday. So we had a 2-hour forum led by Development Services, Building Safety and Planning were there. So we had lots of different, we had architects, we had engineers, land use consultants and developers themselves. And I think there are about 50 people on the invite, and I think 25 to 30 came. It's a very robust 2-hour conversation. And then we're gonna send out a survey afterwards of all the identified actions, and then ask people to rank those, like some of it's very technical, you know, change this thing in the portal, make it easier to do this. Some of it's, you know, hire more staff don't have one person doing this role, have 2 people, and that would be way better for us, that kind of stuff. For us to consider on the management team, like, what do we want to prioritize if we can't get to everything, which we probably can't. So, and that'll be part of what we present to council. You know, we want to present everything we've been doing over the last 2 years, and then where we think we're going and what we've heard is a priority to work on. And then I guess identify if we need more funding or something to make that happen. We
Okay.
want to tell the council that as well. So, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. I don't, does anyone have any comments for the good of the order? Deb?
Yeah, I applied to and was accepted into the 1000 Friends of Oregon Land Use Leadership Institute. So that kicks off this weekend. So
Congrats.
yay.
Cool. I don't know if this is a comment for the good of the order, but I do believe I glossed over, we have 3 excused absences this evening. So everyone, every commissioner that is not here did message in to note their absence. So we'll note that on the record. Any public comment other than agenda items? No? Okay, adjournment.